Hi everyone, Dr. Asi here. Today I'm going to react to Zeph Sanders or LifeofZeph's hair loss routine. Let's see what he's getting so right. So guys, if you've never heard of LifeofZeph or Zeph Sanders, he is a true testament to what sort of results can be achieved in terms of hair growth with medical therapy alone. Now, I've been in this industry for a long time. And my goal is always to try help people regain their hair. Now, obviously, we're surgeons and we mainly focus on hair transplant surgery, but a surgery is always the last resort. And there are so many things you can do before you get to surgery in order to help your hair. Okay, so this guy is a real testament, and let's see what he does.
Okay, let's break down what I use in my hair routine and what are my protocols throughout the week. I'm gonna start with things I use every single day, no matter what, and I try not to miss days, but if you do, you can just skip that session of application and then just apply it the next time you were supposed to. It's not gonna be the end of the world. Be as consistent as you can. Just for context, this would be my perfect week for a hair routine. Doesn't mean I'm always perfect when it comes to that particular routine. For the most part, I have been very disciplined on doing this weekly and seeing the best results doing it.
Yeah, guys, I think that he's quite right. One of the biggest problems we encounter with medical therapy for hair loss is something called compliance. So are you going to do the routine every day? Are you going to take that pill every day? Are you going to apply that topical solution on your head every day? Now, I always say know thyself. So if you know that you never take your pills and you never apply things onto your head, well, then there will be another protocol for you that suits your personality and your routine.
Growing back my hair, I tried a lot of different things. I'm using Minoxidil 5%. I buy this from Target. It's like $23.99. Alcohol-based solution. Apply it twice a day, in the morning and at night. I'll apply it to the back of the scalp and let it run down my scalp into the temples, rub it into my temples and the back of the scalp. And this is a vasodilator, so it helps with blood flow and open up those hair follicles to help stimulate it, but it also lengthens the time of the hair cycle. They actually used this as a heart medication years ago. I found that taking heart medication orally, people started having side effects of hair growth. And so they made it into a topical solution that's a little bit safer. There are those slight side effects of possible heart palpitations, irritated and dry scalp. So if you are going to use this, just be careful. But for the most part, everyone that has used topical minoxidil have seen pretty good feedback and not a lot of bad side effects. And only about 50% of people that use minoxidil by itself see results. Hoping for the best and hope this would work for you.
Right. So topical minoxidil, definitely something that is a good and large gun in our arsenal of hair restoration. Now, the problem with topical, again, is compliance, right? So as you see, he applies it twice a day, obviously a very disciplined guy, but I find that a lot of my patients struggle with doing this consistently, okay? Just a small correction there. It's not really a heart medication. It is a blood pressure medication. And yes, it does cause vasodilatation, but actually the mechanism of how it prolongs that anagen phase of the hair growth cycle is largely unknown. Does it work? It seems to work for a lot of patients. It will cause hair thickening and in some patients more hairs per square centimeter as well. Okay. Now there are some people who can be resistant to topical minoxidil. If you are resistant, things like microneedling beforehand can help that minoxidil penetrate your skin, or if you couldn't be bothered to apply this stuff twice daily, low-dose oral minoxidil works extremely well, and we find that compliance is also a lot easier with that.
Next thing I take is Finasteride. This is a topical gel Finasteride from Zion Health. And Finasteride is a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, meaning it will block the transition from testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. As DHT will attach onto the hair follicles, eating away at it, making it thin, and then eventually fall out. The main cause for male pattern baldness. However, because it messes with that conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, there is chances of side effects, which is why I take this particular product. Now, they are a brand sponsor for me, so I get it sent for free. However, this is $99 a month. Yes, it is a little bit more expensive than the oral medication, just because it limits the side effects by applying it in a gel that slowly releases it throughout the day and helping it target more of the hair follicle, going less systematic. Oral medication is a lot more affordable and it's essentially going to do the same thing. Now, I tried oral Finasteride back in like month 2 and found pretty quickly within the first month that I was getting side effects. My libido was down, my energy was down, and it felt like I got kicked in the nads. Hopefully YouTube doesn't get mad at me for that. I found the topical gel from Zion. This Finasteride has worked well for me and I haven't experienced those bad side effects I get with the oral medication, just because I feel like the oral medication was a little bit more harsh when taking it in directly into your system. I take this daily and I apply it at nighttime. Comes out in a gel and I'll apply it mainly to the back of the head and then I'll spot treat it on my hairline as well.
All right, guys, a lot to unpack here. So if you guys know me, definitely I would have put this as the first product that he uses, because in my opinion, this is what is going to give you the bulk of that hair regrowth. So the bulk of the effects that he's seen in his hair regrowth has most likely been from finasteride use. Now, I have a video on topical finasteride, but just to summarize, yes, topical finasteride does seem to cause less side effects than oral finasteride. But what I don't know about him is how he was taking his oral finasteride. Was he taking the regular recommended prescribed dose of 1 milligram per day? And if he was experiencing side effects on that, perhaps dropping the dose to 3 milligrams per week, 2 milligrams per week would have alleviated those side effects, and therefore he doesn't need to use this expensive finasteride topical solution. That obviously does work. And remember, guys, finasteride or 5-alpha reductase inhibitors are the only true medications that treat the root cause of balding. So they are extremely important. You know, if they would be a arsenal, the finasteride is your nuclear option.
The next thing I use is microneedling. Now, I use this once a week, bunch of little needles that pokes your scalp, and I use a 1.5 length. I'll prick my scalp all over, including the hairline and where I want new growth, 2 to 3 times in the exact same spot. Now, they have derma rollers, but if you have longer hair and roll over your hair, it's going to kind of cut it up. Stamp when you press it. It's not going to damage the actual hair that's grown out of your head. Now I have a dermapen, but it's super aggressive. So if you're looking into starting to microneedle, I would recommend a stamp. Anywhere from a 0.5 to 1.5 length. There's not like a specific size that's supposed to be most effective, but in between those ranges are good. So if you find yourself starting with a 0.5, you can slowly increase that length. This is also shown to be very effective with other topical products like the Minoxidil, the Finasteride.
Yeah, guys, so microneedling, I've always listed it as something that is cheap and effective to do. It's called biostimulation. So you're mechanically stimulating your skin and your hair follicles. And as you cause that little micro damage, what happens is growth factors come to the surface and they help build new blood supply to that area. So definitely something that's worthwhile, cheap and effective. Once per week, microneedling, just as he said, between 0.5 and 1.5 millimeters in depth.
And the fourth and final product that we use is going to be rosemary oil. Now, this has been something I've been using since the beginning, and I'll actually mix it with a carrier oil like pumpkin seed oil or castor oil. This is shown to be just as effective as Minoxidil 2%. And a lot of people ask me, why are you using rosemary oil if you already use 5% Minoxidil? The 5% Minoxidil is an alcohol-based solution. To be honest, it's dried up my scalp. Rosemary oil has helped me hydrate my scalp. It helps with skin irritation. It's an anti-inflammatory. Brings the same growth properties as Minoxidil 2%. I find this most helpful 4 to 8 hours. I will apply it to my scalp before my wash days and found it to really regulate the side effects from the Minoxidil and still give me great results. Don't get me wrong, this is not stronger than Minoxidil 5%. I keep it in my routine because it reminds me of where I started. Still see progress with it. Now, pumpkin seed oil isn't really proven for anything, a natural DHT blocker. And what I'll do is I'll do like a 4-to-1 ratio. So I'll do 4 tubes of the pumpkin seed oil with 1 whole tube of the rosemary oil. Now online it says to do a tablespoon with 5 to 10 drops of the rosemary oil, but I use way more rosemary oil. I haven't had a problem with it. You put a few drops in your shampoo. I also use castor oil for a while, but it is a little bit thicker to absorb into the scalp. When you're looking at different oils, just know that different oils are thinner and thicker than the other, and the thinner the oil, the better, so it can absorb easier into the scalp while carrying the rosemary oil. You don't want to do the rosemary oil by itself because it is an essential oil, and yes, it burns the scalp more than Minoxidil. It makes the scalp red, so it is smart to use it with a carrier oil. I wash my hair 2 times a week. Normally I like to wash my hair at night, so I'll apply the rosemary oil with the pumpkin seed oil at night and then wake up in the morning and wash my hair out.
All right, guys, so oils, rosemary oil, pumpkin seed oil, and castor oil. Now, I know LifeofZeph, as he's talking about it, I think you can hear in his voice that these are just supplementary things that he does, that he's like, well, it makes my hair feel good, it makes my scalp feel good, so I do it. How much growth will that give you? It's hard to say. Yes, there are some studies that show that rosemary oil has increased growth rates, some of them comparing to Minoxidil. However, I highly doubt that rosemary oil is as effective as 5% topical Minoxidil. Minoxidil has been widely studied. It's safe and extremely effective to use. Now, if you want to use rosemary oil, be my guest, go for it. Use the whole bunch and combinations of oil. If your hair and scalp feel good, then that is fantastic. But remember, again, the biggest issue most patients have with all this stuff, with all the routine, it's compliance. So if you're going to do it once and miss out on it, and that's going to mess up your whole routine, then rather just leave that out. I don't think it's necessary, and don't do it at all.
I want to go over some bonus things that I use, like shampoo. extra things I've found helpful, but not something that are in my routine every single day. I'm gonna start off with shampoo. Now, I use this shampoo called Rebundance from Maple Holistics. This is the same brand as the Rosemary Oil. I'm not sponsored by them. I like their shampoo, saw palmetto in it, leaf oil, rosemary oil, some good natural ingredients, and I don't find it too harsh on my hair where it strips all the oils and makes my hair super dry. There's also not a scent to it, which I like as well. Now, the other shampoo I use is the DHT blocking shampoo from Zion. This is also gonna have saw palmetto in it. I alternate shampoos just because this one does have a scent to it, a manly cinderwood smelling. If you like that smell, this is a good smelling shampoo.
Right, guys. Now, shampoos, in terms of actual hair growth, the only shampoos that have really shown to have some sort of benefit to hair growth are things like ketoconazole shampoo. Ketoconazole is a weak DHT blocker, so something in your scalp that can weakly block DHT. Saw palmetto shampoo, I believe, is questionable, but if you want to do it, absolutely fine. It's probably not going to mess anything up. But again, I know a lot of these things can be extremely expensive, and if you're on a budget, just regular Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo is absolutely fine to use.
First thing I use is a scalp massager. Now you can get these for like $7 on Amazon. Easy to use if you don't want to use your fingers. Found it to be helpful when I'm feeling lazy or don't want to touch my hair when my hair's all oily. I do try to massage my scalp daily for 5 to 10 minutes. No proof that this works, but it's a good relaxer and it lets me loosen some tension in my head, which in return will help your skin, your face, your mental health, your stress. So I massage my scalp 5 to 10 minutes a day and I find it really helpful.
Yeah, guys, I think scalp massaging, as Life of Zeph just mentioned, you know, whether it works or not, we don't know about it. But if you like it, if it makes your scalp feel good, absolutely go for it. You know, doing a daily scalp massage is definitely not going to cause you any detrimental effects. So be my guest. But do you have to do it and add it to this routine? I do not believe so.
Last thing's just like preventative measures, silk pillowcases, wearing a hat. I mean, hats don't make your hair fall out, but if you're wearing a hat, I do the satin lined hats because they're a good material on the hair. Taking a shower, I like to use cold water. Now I only shampoo twice a week and I work out 5 days a week. So when I work out, I actually get back home from the gym, my hair's all sweaty and I'll end up rinsing it out with water. Now I do make rosemary water. This is something I add in as a bonus, but when I make rosemary water, I have it for 2 to 3 weeks. I'll do a rosemary water rinse on my head in the shower and then let my hair air dry. I find this to help the texture of my hair. It makes my hair super soft, which I love, especially if you have like harsh water or anything like that. It's anti-inflammatory. It still is going to give growth properties and it's going to help your scalp. At the end of the day, you don't need to use shampoo every single day unless your hair is getting like super dirty, like pollen, dirt. It's just like crazy dirty. You have to use it. You just rinse it out with water or use the rosemary water.
Right, guys, so again, rosemary water for your hair. Yeah, if it makes it feel nice and good and soft, absolutely be my guest and use it. Do you have to use it? No, you do not. What about caps? Well, as he said, caps are not going to make your hair fall out. So be my guest, wear caps. Just make sure that cap is not sitting on your head and is super, super tight, okay?
All right, so that's everything I use right now. I want to break down the timing. So I'm going to give you guys my hair routine Sunday through Saturday.
Right, guys, so now he goes into the timing of this routine, and I'm not going to sit here and go through it. If you guys want to, I do encourage you to look at it. Pretty much what I wanted to share with my audience from this video is that I believe that he could have achieved the exact same results with only doing these 3 things. Number 1, finasteride. If he went low dose oral finasteride, it would be 1 tablet 3 times a week, or let's say a quarter of a tablet per day. He could do that. He could also do the topical. Number 2, minoxidil. For simplicity's sake, he could have taken 1.25 to 2.5 milligrams of oral minoxidil daily, and that's just easy to do in the day, and then once a week microneedling device. In my opinion, if somehow in retrospect we could go back and get the exact same person to do 9 months of just those 3 things, low dose oral finasteride, low dose oral minoxidil, once a week, derma rolling, I genuinely believe he would have gotten the exact same results, if not better. So it's just to say that you guys, you don't have to go through all the rigmarole of doing this crazy routine as long as you're doing the things that actually work. And it's important that you do this. If you're considering a hair transplant, it's extremely important that you do this stuff for at least 6 months before you go for surgery, because number 1, you might find that you don't need surgery at all, and number 2, if you do get surgery, it may be a smaller surgery, thereby conserving your donor area. And just a message there to Zeph Sanders. I think the work that you're doing is fantastic, and you're really helping a lot of people out there save their hair, which is important to some people. But as you and I say, no shame in shaving it. And I saw in one of your TikToks that maybe one day you'll get a hair transplant. Well, if you're ever looking for one, we're always here to help.